He's the executive vice president and general manager of the Philadelphia Eagles. I'd like to call this a tradition unlike any other. Joining us again on the Rich Eisen Show after another NFL draft, Howie Roseman. Good to see you, Howie. How are you?
Good to see you, Rich. I'm noticing, I just want to know, was that a unanimous selection as best dad ever, or were there other people as a candidate?
I don't know. Just Howie, it's that time of year. Everything's an evaluation. Everything's an evaluation. But if my family's anything like yours, it's a very, very difficult evaluation. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, for the amount that you work and you put into, I mean, best dad ever, that would be impressive.
It's all about being present. That's otherwise it's a red flag. You know what I mean? Good to see you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
So let's just jump right into it. Going into the draft, did you identify corner as a need? And you said we're gonna, I don't know if it's like the movie Draft Day, Quinyon, Mitchell, no matter what. But what was that something that you said? We're gonna hit it. Yeah. We're gonna hit it hard.
I don't know that I've ever felt about anything, no matter what. But I would say that for us, we just got to be careful that we don't change our evaluations based on need. And I think the way that the board fell, with the offensive players going, with the quarterbacks going, it fell nicely for us. I think there was a point in the first round where we had an opportunity to trade up, and we felt like we were going to sit at our pick and get a really good player, which is a pretty unique feeling, certainly for me. I'm usually of the mindset of, like, let's go up and let's make sure we get it. But it fell kind of nicely for us, and we felt like we were a good spot at 22, and actually had a couple of first-rounders still on our draft board. We don't have 32 first-rounders, but we had a couple of first-rounders still on our board at 22, and obviously getting Mitchell filled a spot that we were looking to address this offseason that we hadn't addressed other than, getting Isaiah, which was kind of a different look from us. We do have some young corners and some veteran corners that we like as well, but it kind of met needs and evaluation.
Well, you had your choice, essentially, of corners. Why did he jump out at you as the one for you?
Yeah, a lot of good players there, and I think it's a beautiful situation that we had. A lot of good players that we would have been happy to select that we didn't know that would be there at 22. We just felt like he fit. His skill set fit what we were looking for. Not that the other guys didn't, because we would have loved to have him, and obviously we went back and got another one of those guys there on day 2, but just felt like he had a great mix of skill set and mentality and intangibles to come in and help our football team.
And if you dug the kid, I imagine getting him where you did, you might be surprised going in that you'd be able to stick and get him. And knowing you and not leaving anything to chance, if you want somebody, I imagine you might have called around to see if you could move up. Not to turn you into a pundit here, Howie, but why do you think there were so few first night draft trades from moving up? It was kind of a difficult nut to crack, it seemed, from my seat on the set. Do you have any theories on that at all?
Yeah, I feel like the teams in the top 10 had options at positions that made sense for them. I felt like once you got to 11 through 20, the three quarterbacks going kind of affected that range of players. And that allowed guys to fall down that normally wouldn't have fallen down in other drafts. And so I think when teams were sitting there, they felt very comfortable about who they were picking in the first round. And when you do that, you're not willing to move off that spot. And the flip side is you don't have to move up because, you look at your board and say, hey, there's 3 picks left to my pick. I have 3 guys that I still really like. I'm in a good spot.
Is that how it works? Like, you draft your draft board's not just vertical, but it's also horizontal. That's
exactly right.
That's
exactly right.
Really?
You got to look at it from both perspectives. And so, for us, the draft kind of fell, and we didn't say that just because we were picking 22nd.
Sure.
We felt like there were about 24 first-round talents, including the quarterbacks. And so when you get to a point, where you kind of go, all right, well, we're 5 picks away. We still got 5 first-round talents. For us, it kind of worked out from, like you said, from a horizontal perspective where those grades were equal and they were positions that we were looking to address anyway. So it didn't make a lot of sense for us to move up and use draft capital to do it.
And you must have been, because we had Chris Ballard on last Friday, and he was obviously just like you, not quarterback needy going into this draft. And he told me if I could get 5 or 6 quarterbacks drafted before he picks, he said he would come on the show anytime. And I'm imagining you had to have been high-fiving, right? Watching all the quarterbacks go in the top 12, you sitting where you were sitting, right?
Yeah, Rich, one of my many negative qualities is I always expect the worst and hope for the best. So, you sit there and you go, what's the least amount of quarterbacks that will go before we pick? And you kind of work off that. So I think for us to have 6 quarterbacks go was probably the best case scenario in any of the hypotheticals that we did.
And Cooper DeJean, do you see him playing a role in this newfangled kickoff return world we live in, Howie? Do you see that?
Well, we couldn't be more excited to get him. He was certainly among the considerations at 22. When we came back after the first round and met as a staff, just trying to figure out a way, was there a possibility that we could get him because of what kind of player and person he is, the roles that he can fill. This guy, he's just a heck of a player. I think whatever he does at a high level, whether that's a defensive player, whether that's as a returner. I mean, shoot, this was a quarterback in high school. This guy could have played quarterback in college as well. He's that kind of athlete. He's that kind of intangible. So I'm really excited to get him and kind of add to what we're trying to do defensively.
And in terms of your career of calling a prospect saying, hey, you're ready to become a Philadelphia Eagle, where does Jeremiah Trotter Jr. rank for that for you?
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about a 3rd-round pick who called me Big Pimpin'.
All right, let's go there.
I thought you were going in order. So you went with Mitchell, you went with Cooper, and then I thought you were going to talk about, me and Jay-Z being in the same ballpark there with Hunt.
What happened? Say what? What?
I called him and I congratulated him, told him we were going to draft him. I said, hey, this is Howie Roseman. And he said, what's up, Big Pimpin'?
That a first for you, Howie? I'm just going to go on a limb and ask.
That is a first for me.
Okay.
You can find that on our website. I was taken aback. I was literally like, it took me a second to kind of understand what he was saying to me, but
it's a positive.
I'm not sure it will be a last now, based on the text messages I got over the weekend. So.
That's funny. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to switch it up because it's more to talk to you about than just your draft. And but Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Talk about feeling old, but there you have it, right?
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, you talk about a kid that you saw when his dad was playing here, and then obviously he played at St. Joe's Prep, and then following him at Clemson. And this is a guy that we had a high grade on. We know what kind of player and person he is. I can't wait for him to kind of be himself. He doesn't have to be his dad. He's his own player. He's his own leader. Felt really fortunate to be able to trade up and get him where we got him.
That said, is he going to wear 54? Because I know that's available. A lot of folks are wondering. What do you think?
You know what? That's a good question. I have not talked to Greg Delamitros, our esteemed equipment vice president of equipment. He's got that title, so we give him a lot of say there. But I felt like that was one of the more emotional moments that I've had in a draft room. Just thinking about that player. Obviously him going later than he thought in the draft. Then the adversity he had gone through, obviously the situation with his mother, passing away here, and to be able to stay home and be around his family, and I thought it was really special.
Howie Roseman here on the Rich Eisen Show, and obviously, listen, you're very well known for building around the lines and the trenches and making sure that that's taken care of, and yet you're also now the same executive and general manager that is. Extended the 2 wide receivers on your team with generationally enriching contracts, including another for A.J. Brown right at the outset of the draft, and then Saquon in a world where running backs are supposed to be just 6th, 7th rounders, not guys that you pay top of the market. What's your philosophy on all of that, Howie, writ large, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I think that the most important thing is you started with. We start with the lines. And when you look at our offensive line to start, you look at Jordan Mailata, who we also extended this offseason, Landon Dickerson, who we also extended this offseason, We took Cam Jurgens in the second round to go play center. Last year at the top of the third round, we took Tyler Steen. We extended Lane Johnson last year as well. And then we drafted 2 guys, and we had signed a couple of guys in free agency and as futures that we have a lot of faith in. And we extended our other tackle, Fred Johnson. And today, not breaking any news, but we have another offensive lineman in the building, former first-round pick, Mekhi Becton. So it's really important to us. And then you look on the defensive line, and obviously our last 2 first-round picks were defensive tackles. We also have Milton Williams, who was a third-round pick. We have a bunch of young guys inside. And then you look at our edge rushers. We signed Bryce Huff as a free agent. We drafted Nolan Smith in the first round last year. We re-signed Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham. We drafted a guy in the third round. We have a bunch of young players at that position we like as well. So I think it starts there, and us being able to do a lot of the things that we were doing this year started because of all the resources we put on the offensive defensive line. And then adding those 2 guys back and extending AJ and Devontae, who we think, are the best 2 receiver tandem in the league. Obviously, we're biased. There's a lot of good ones, but that's how we feel about those guys. And then Saquon, you mentioned, and I think for us, we thought this was an elite player and an elite person. And we have always felt a little bit differently about the running back position here and how important it is. You're talking about a guy who, should get 300 touches. Who's going to touch the ball 300 times. He's a special player. We had done that before. Me, when I was the personnel director, we had done it with Brian Westbrook. When I was the GM, we did it with LaShawn McCoy. So we think it's an important position, and obviously we think this guy is a special player.
300, huh? That'd be a heck of a number of touches. That's essentially the plan going into the season. Saquon 300 touches, and Jalen can figure out the rest after all of that, right?
Are you holding me to something?
No,
Because you're going to get me in trouble with our coaches.
I don't mean to get in. I just
well,
love hearing that.
When you look at the history of running backs, I don't think 300 touches is a big number when you talk about rushes and receptions.
Right.
But yeah, certainly I think you want the ball in his hands, and we got a lot of playmakers. We didn't even mention Dallas Goedert or a couple of the guys we got in this draft. So we're excited.
Yeah,
we're excited. Obviously, we got a long way to go.
Yeah, Will Shipley. No, listen, man. Saquon's one of my favorites, and I pound this table all the time. Running backs, so many people think, you don't have to pay him. You don't have to pay him. And then they're the most important players that you have to lean on when games get tough, fourth quarter, weather gets rough. January comes around, February comes around. That's it. That's the end of the story for these guys.
And they're touching the ball more than any player other than the center and the quarterback on offense.
Pretty much. Hey, Howie, I appreciate the time right here. Love checking in with you. Also wanted to see if you're okay. You didn't draft anybody from Georgia. I want to make sure everything's fine with you. Everything good?
Well, you know what, Rich? Yeah. I am a Gator, and I think that at some point that I had to make sure that I was getting back into the university because I care very much about the University of Florida. So I want to make sure they understand, that I am a big advocate of the University of Florida as well. And I thought it was important that we got back to baseline here.
Understood. Yeah, it's called homecoming for a reason. You want to go back. That's what I'm saying. I get
no
it.
No doubt. Always great to see you.
Right back at you.
I'm going to see if I can get something on my desk that mimics the same as yours.
You got it.
Yours.
Yeah. Based on the sticker that my kids left on it, it doesn't cost very much. So don't worry about it.
Take care. Thanks for having me.
You got it, man. That's Howie Roseman. He can fit this into the cap very easily right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern for free.